it's not I would say that this is the first mistake I committed. I took it as a CAT examination where everything was just to learn all the concepts, and in the sense that I was concentrating on practicing a lot of questions, and I solved almost 10,000 questions from various sources, right? I managed to score 730, doing all of that. After that, I deconstructed everything, right? So I'll just I just realized that the GMAT is not an exam of quantitative or verbal aptitude, right? It's all about reasoning. It's about the mindset. During that 3.5 hours, you're sitting in an environment. It is to keep a hold of yourself during that 3.5. Obviously, preparation is there, right? But like learning grammar rules is not equivalent to solving a sentence correction question, for example, right? I prepared from various sources. I crammed all the grammar rules that there are, right? But finally, when I started paying attention to what the sentence is saying exactly, what is the meaning of the sentence, then my performance improved drastically, right? Same goes with reading comprehension. It wasn't I was at the start of my preparation, I was kind of overburdening myself with a lot of details, right? But then after a while, I realized that in all the questions that I've solved so far, never once I had to. It has been it has been that I didn't have to go back to the passage to read those details, right? Again, I'm really sorry, I'm going very specific.
No, that's fine. I think so. Just for the benefit of people who have just joined us, I think about 4 or 5 people joined us even after you signed up. Folks, Naresh just got a 770 on the GMAT, and he's giving us our advice, his advice on how you can also maximize. Naresh, go on, please.
Yeah. So with reading comprehension, if you read for the purpose, in any case, you'll have to go back to passage to reread those technical details, or let's say if you have an inference question, which is the most frequently asked question, you'll have to get back to that passage to read that particular word or that line, right? So there is no point in getting into too much into those things. You just need the purpose, so that you can have an understanding of why this passage has been written, right? For all of those things, and obviously you have to spend time to understand the passage, and you have to distribute it like this. That let's say I spent 2.5 minutes to comprehend the passage. It's reading comprehension, right? You have to understand it. And if you do that, you don't actually need to spend a lot of time on the question set. So let's say if you spend like 2 to 3 minutes on understanding the passage, then solving the question, or 3-4 questions associated with that particular passage won't take more than, let's say, 1 minute, something in that ballpark range. So that would keep your average kind of 7 minutes or 4 question or so. It will happen with CR. With CR, what I realized that almost all. I mean, I'll tell you about myself, that I always concentrated on getting it in like 2 minutes, 2 to 2.5 minutes, but that approach was wrong. A CR question will always, per capita, a CR question will always take the maximum time across all the question, whether it's quant, whether it's verbal, any of the question type, right? So first you have to accuracy, getting the question right is far much more important to get it in under 2 minutes, because speed will happen only when you started realizing that which part of the prompt that I should concentrate on. Let's say everyone should look what exactly the author is saying. What is the conclusion? Maximum issues, maximum problems that I feel that in CR question happens, that people fail to understand what exactly the conclusion is, right? Why the passage has been written. Obviously, the choices are so convoluted that each and every choice will talk about something that is related to that passage, but only one choice will talk about what the author is trying to say, right? What is the final conclusion of the passage? So this is how I dealt with the CR part. With quant, with quant, particularly with Indian engineers, people always stuck at somewhere between Q48, Q49, somewhere around that, right? What I realized that we as Indian engineers, we are all too egoistic that, okay, this is quant, I'll master it, right? I'll get Q51 even without preparation. The thing is that the key thing to solve a GMAT quant question is that the same question could be solved in a linear method, which we are accustomed to, that let's say it will take 3 to 4 minutes. The same question can be solved in under 2 minutes, because the GMAT will anyways never ask you a question which cannot be solved under 2 minutes. What I used to do was, I used to take the more calculation intensive and the linear approach. That used, that usually it used to lead to a lot of exhaustion. And I after let's say 5-6 questions, I start to miss key details or commit silly mistakes. Obviously, in hindsight, whenever I used to analyze those questions, I used to get almost 90% of them correct in a subsequent attempt. But in a test setting, what I would advise for quant section is that you always practice with the easiest and the least time consuming approach, because there are not questions are themselves not difficult. It's just understanding the like what is the best way, the least time consuming way to solve that particular question while practicing can save you minutes in time in GMAT quant, and obviously it will also help you not getting exhausted during the exam, and you will concentrate on each and every key detail of that particular question. So that will help you to avoid silly mistake. Then again, finally it's up to you whether you are at a Q50 or a Q49. So yeah.
Okay. Great. Thank you so much, Naresh. And people, let's just give Naresh a round of applause for sharing a lot of insight about how he managed to get to 770. Thank you, Naresh, again.
Thank you,
maybe we'll take a couple of other introductions, and then I'm going to share a link to this Jamboard. So I did it last week and I had a lot of success. So what I'm going to ask people to do is, let me find the chat window. Because I'm sharing my screen, the chat window is not in an easily accessible place. So this is the link to this Jamboard. Everybody should have access to it. You can add a new page, and within the new page, you can, pretty much put in your name, maybe your first name, right? Let's say we have Naresh. So, don't make it so big. I don't know how you can make it smaller. Yeah, Naresh. And maybe like industry function question, right? So maybe everybody can add a page for themselves. You can create new pages. So there's a third page now, and I've created a fourth page as well. So everybody can create their own page. And then the first thing I would ask you to do is put down your name so that other people know that they shouldn't work on that page, but they should add a new page instead. And then you can add your industry function in question, and then we'll take it one at a time. Does that sound okay? All right. Meanwhile, let's just have another couple of introductions, and then I'll get into the Q&A, and we'll discuss the introductions along with the question itself. Does someone want to go next? Okay, hello. Maybe I will give my introduction. Anubhav, I think I interrupted you when you're speaking. Go on, Anubhav.
Yes, good evening. My name is Anubhav. I'm working in media industry. Right now, I was working in media industry. Right now, I'm in academical media. Actually, like I'm working in Amrita University as assistant professor in the Department of Communications. And I have 2.5 years of experience in industry and academics, together. And I'm interested in MBA and also MIM. Also, some people suggest, but I like MBA. Most probably in MBA, I'm interested. And I'm looking forward to take GMAT also, GMAT preferably. And GRE, I tried in 2017. I tried with GRE, but like I couldn't I couldn't do. But GMAT, I took. Actually, I visited one. I just had like a few months ago. I visited one GMAT coaching center, and I gone through all the books, and I was convinced that I could really do it.
Okay, very good. What book are you reading now, Anubhav?
I'm currently doing a fellowship. I'm actually I'm not reading anything now as of now. I'm doing some work out of my workplace.
Any textbooks, anything of that sort?
Yeah, I'm reading a book by Abhijit Das Gupta. He used to be my dean at film school. He was my dean at film school in Kolkata. So I'm reading his autobiography.
All right.
So he's a retired person, station head from Doordarshan and ESPN and NHK Japan. So I'm just reading his whatever his journey in the television industry.
Okay, great. Thank you, Anubhav. People, I'll give a short introduction about myself and then we can get into the Q&A. As you all know, my name is Karthik. I am the founder and the chief coach at August Academy. We've been in business since 2013. We've had the good fortune of helping more than 200 Indian applicants so far. And a lot of our candidates have gotten into top 20 MBA programs. Within the US, we've had people getting into Harvard, Chicago Booth, MIT, Kellogg, Duke, Tuck, Ross, Columbia, and a lot of top 15, top 20 programs. In Europe, I think we've covered all the top 5. We've had people getting into INSEAD, we've had people getting into London Business School, Oxford, Cambridge, HEC, IE, IESA, ISADE, MD as well. So in Europe, we've pretty much covered the entire top 5 to top 10. Within Asia, of course, we've had a lot of people getting into ISB. Every year, we have about 5 people getting into ISB. And several more get into ISB, but they don't take up the offer as well. So that also happens. We've had people getting into NUS, NTU, Singapore Management University, HKUST, right? So very happy, very fortunate. I think we've covered about $7 million in scholarships so far. I've lost track, but every year we get at least $1 million plus in scholarship. Even now, I had somebody who got into TEPR off the wait list. In fact, last year was a very, very competitive year. My candidate had a 730. He applied to TEPR. Usually in a non-competitive year, I think you need about 750 to get into TEPR. But with the 730, he was waitlisted and he just got in and he negotiated for a scholarship and he got a $50,000 scholarship as well. So that's the great news from last week. About August Academy, we are a member of AGAC. And personally, I'm also an ICF accredited coach. So what does that mean? We subscribe to the highest standards of ethics in this particular industry. And, I am a qualified and certified coach. So that means it's not just that I do things intuitively. It's also that there is a method to how I operate with people, right? I'm an alumnus of IIT Madras and Stanford University. I got my PhD from that. I worked in the corporate sector for about 3 years or so, 3, maybe 4 years. One of the things that I realized was I always wanted to take on more responsibility and more leadership when I was given an opportunity to do so. And that was what was keeping me slightly unhappy in the corporate sector, which is why I thought I would do an MBA. And if I finish my MBA, then I can take up a higher leadership role. I got into the Stanford Sloan School of Business for Stanford Graduate School of Business for the Sloan Fellows Program, which is their equivalent of the Exec MBA. But due to some personal circumstances, I couldn't take it up at that point. And that is also when I started August, right? A slightly longer introduction than I had originally planned. But we can go into Q&A right now. About books, I'm reading a book called Delivering Happiness, and it is a book written by Tony Hsieh. He was the founder of Zappos.com, and he passed away in very unfortunate circumstances about a year or so ago. Not a very old chap. When he passed away, he was probably in his mid-40s, right? But the book is a lot of value for all entrepreneurs. So if you are planning to start a company at any point in time, you should read this book. This is one of those books that you should read. There's another book called The Hard Thing About Hard Things. That's also a book entrepreneurs should read, right? So those would be my 2 book recommendations for budding entrepreneurs. Moving on to Q&A, right? So I'm going to start with Ashish Arora. Hi, Ashish. You're saying your industry is in GMAT prep. Do you mean to say that you work for a GMAT prep company, or are you preparing for your GMAT right now?
No, I mean to say that I'm working for a GMAT prep company.
Okay, great. And your function is product management.
Yeah.
So I'm assuming you guys have an online product, and because of that, what's happening is maybe it's customized. Are you working for eGMAT by any chance?
Yeah. I'm working from GMAT right now. Just started my job with GMAT. So
You
yeah,
just started your job with GMAT. All right.
My function.
And when you say product management, is it a technical, as in a computational product management role?
No, it's not technical. It's a very functional role. And yeah, I'm managing the product as well as the projects which come along for developing the product.
All right, sounds good. Now, what is your question, Ashish?
Yeah, I posted this question. So before this, I just started this new job. I have a GMAT of 770.
Very good.
And before this, for almost 4 years, I'll guess a month or two less than 4 years, I have a work experience in technology consulting. So I did my
so that's going to be with like an Infosys or something.
No, I'll tell you. So I did my engineering in mechanical from NIT Durgapur. The CGPAs are good. I was top 3 of my batch of 150 in mechanical. I started PwC India. I worked in India and in Bangladesh. And I worked for 2.5 years in PwC. Then I shifted to SAP. Yeah. So I worked for the last 1.5 years in SAP. Got one promotion. So basically, my point was till the point I was talking to you. In fact, I had a chat with you as well. I had a call with you as well. Around a month back. Yeah. And you told me that my profile is pretty IT mail guy domain, in the IT mail guy domain, and it's very generic, and you'll have a lot of competition in this genre because it's one of the most common pools, right?
Correct.
So that was the main reason of me shifting to my job. Otherwise, I was very happy with my job at SAP. So
oh my God, I didn't mean for you to. Hopefully, you're happy with your job switch also.
And yeah, I'm happy with my job switch also. Yeah, it's a new challenge. I've worked for 2 very big companies, and now it's a good experience to work in a smaller team and head management. So I'm very happy with that. I'm very happy with the hikes and the shifting as well. So no problem in that way. I'm not totally blaming it on you, but yeah. So my question right now is in this timeline. So since if I start applying for colleges in August, September, so I'll get most probably 2 months or max 3 months of experience. Would it take me out of that generic pool of IT male guy?
Probably not, Ashish. I'm sorry to say that, because the bulk of your experience is still in technology, and eGMAT also. I mean, if we deconstruct the role, I'm not sure if it is going to be very removed from technology. I mean, I do understand you guys have a technology product, even though it is like in the education sector. I think there's like ed plus tech associated with it. And let's say you get involved in the startup aspects, and then your responsibility is expanded beyond product management to maybe like fundraising and those kinds of things. I'm not sure like what you guys are, how you guys are approaching the company building phase. But let's say like a typical EdTech startup, if you guys are involved in all that, and you also get the opportunity to get involved in all that, that will definitely be a positive. But you need to be working in that role for 2 or 3 years. 2-3 months is like you have demonstrated interest of working in this particular area. That part is clear, but demonstrated experience is not there. So demonstrated experience will be there only if you put like 2 or 3 years there. But having said that, you do have a good profile. Otherwise, even for an Indian male engineer bracket, the GMAT of 770 is definitely good. Your academic profile is good. You work for good companies. So there's a very good chance you can look at top 15 programs, maybe even like top 12 programs. If that's something that you're happy with, then that's something that will work out right now.
I'm definitely happy with. So I told you, and even you consulted me with this. So I'm looking. I was predominantly looking for a switch from technology consulting into management consulting / strategy consulting, right? And so it made more sense for me to do a 2-year program. So basically a US program. Yeah. And I was not looking into the top 3, top 4 of M7. I was happy with the bottom 3 and maybe some of the later part of the other colleges than M7? Because I know the consulting framework is pretty much good in the top 10, top 15 US colleges. So even
pretty
if
much top 15, maybe even the top 20, 25, I think consulting is good. Last year, I think the consulting industry went through an expansion. This year, I'm not sure how the job market is going to. I think the job market is quite strong, which is why the number of US applicants has actually come down last year. The number of Indian applicants went up, but the number of US applicants came down. Why? Because people were getting the kind of salaries that they would get after an MBA itself. Right. So the job market seems to be very strong.
Okay. Yeah. So that's it. I target as a dream college, maybe Kellogg or Columbia, but for a competitive target, I'll maybe target something like a Ross or Yale or Duke.
Yeah, I think that would be good, and maybe 1 or 2 safety programs as well.
Yeah.
Any other follow-up questions on this, Ashish?
No, as such, Karthik. I wanted to have one question about Columbia.
Okay.
Yeah, specifically about Columbia. So I know this thing that Columbia has a rolling admit.
Okay.
Right. And so I was of the, I'm in the impression that my chances would be higher if I am applying in the early bird and the rolling admit, in the earliest possible
case.
That
is definitely true. A lot of candidates get admitted in the early decision round itself.
Yeah. So, so you mean that if it basically doesn't make much sense for me to utilize this new job experience that I'm having, and even if I can apply to Columbia in July, I should be applying, right?
Yeah, I mean, whether you apply in July or August, I don't think. See, unless you guys are moving really, really rapidly at GMAT, and you will have dramatic progress in 1 month. In a typical corporate setting, you will have progress, but you won't have dramatic progress. Your profile is not going to be very different next month compared to this month. So if you anticipate something, a huge change coming up within a month, then you can finish that project and then apply the month after. But in all other scenarios, I think you should just apply as early as possible. Just be prepared to see, one thing about the early bird round at Columbia is you're locking yourself. If you get it, you have to take it, right?
Yeah. But
so as long as you're
Columbia
happy with
is
it,
good enough,
you
right?
should apply early. Columbia is very good. So, I mean, I'm just saying, if it is also good for you, right? I think it's very good. But if you also think it is your top choice, then definitely apply in the early round, and then you'll have your best chances there.
Yeah. Got it. Thanks so much.
Thank you, Ashish. So moving on, Pallavi has a question. Pallavi is also in the EdTech sector. Very nice.
I think so. I had a word with Pallavi as well.
I remember. Yeah, tell me, Pallavi.
Yeah. So actually, I have a question of my odds of getting into a top B schools. And I'm yet to take GRE. Though I have taken GRE last year, but I think I'm not satisfied with the score. I'm retaking in next 2 months. Irrespective of that, I want to know what are my odds, even though if I get a good GRE score. So so that is why I've written my profile here. Let me brief my profile.
Okay.
So I have total 8 years of experience. 8 years of experience, and after graduation, 3 years into oil and gas industry. But during that, I also had exposure to 1.5 years in Abu Dhabi. But during that time, I felt that I definitely want to do something in EdTech, and that was my dreams from the starting itself. So that is why I left that and entered into an EdTech industry. So once I entered, I worked there for 2 years, and I learned all the ecosystem. And after 2 years, I started my own company in 2019. So I ran my company for around 2 years, which after COVID, or maybe post COVID, which got acquired by another big company, Imagine XP. So currently I'm working with that company where it got acquired. So it was a fairly good deal, I would say. If numbers would be required to mention, so can mention those numbers. So, but I think the another part is that whenever I was working with any of the company, be it my initially I was working with Samsung Engineering, post that I worked with EdTech company, wherever I worked, I was always associated with a lot of NGOs in my part-time volunteering work. And it was not like, it was like I was passionate about that. That is why I was involved from the starting itself. So in Samsung, I have worked with NGOs. In during my work with 2 years at Talent Edge, then also I have worked with, I co-founded a like NGO kind of a company, Spectrovers, which worked for specifically for EdTech for differently able candidates. And currently also I'm working into a social impact project with Government of India, but these are the side projects. My main thing is that I'm working as a product head at the company where I got acquired. So I just want to know my odds of getting into a top B schools, because after these many years of experience, I feel that like going to a top B school is the thing that I want to do. So I want to know the odds. GRE score, my current GRE, the last GRE was 316. I think that I can improve it further by a hard preparation. And in fact, Naresh's guides were really well. So yeah. So I'm thinking that I'll be taking in next 1 month GRE, and I want to improve it to, again, you mentioned that we need 332 plus. I am trying really hard to achieve that score.
Okay. All right.
So I want to know.
Yeah, I think with the 332, you can look at an M7. And maybe top 10, maybe could be like a...
M7 means, I don't know about this lingo.
Okay, M7, let's say, definitely you'll have your Harvard. Then you'll have your Chicago Booth.
Okay.
Stanford. Wharton.
Okay.
Then Kellogg. MIT.
And how the GREs?
The seventh school is under a little bit of debate. Some people will consider Columbia, some people will consider Tuck, but let's just put CBS. Yeah, so this is going to be your M7. Does anybody have any other definition of M7? I mean, I know it's not like a ranking or anything. It's just people just say M7, but the only schools that they are clear on are Harvard, Wharton, and Stanford. Then Booth, Kellogg, MIT, CBS, these things keep going in and out. And then sometimes people add Tuck and Yale, sometimes people take out Tuck and Yale, sometimes people add Haas. So, but yeah, I mean, these are typically the best branded schools. Top 10, you would add Haas, Yale, Tuck. So the irony is that there are probably 12 schools in the top 10, right? Duke, Darden, in addition to those 7. So these would be the best programs, I think. So if you have a 332, these are some programs you can, Ross is also there.
And with the, like, of course, I'm taking that one. And if the score is not improved, definitely no chances in top ones, right?
If they are able to provide you with a waiver, then I would say you can take the waiver and then apply. But if they're not able to provide you with a waiver and the score does not exceed 328 at the very least, then you may find it very difficult to get into these programs.
And is it they give the waiver to specific people or to overall year, right? As a, like,
so the waiver was something that was given the last 2 years because of the pandemic. It is not a regular thing. What happened during the pandemic was a lot of test centers closed, especially if you remember the first pandemic, right? We all got out and then we did all these Zooms and whatnot. So that first pandemic, when nobody was going out for 2-3 months, I think the entire world, it was like that. So most of the test centers were closed. And because of that, people were not able to take the GRE or GMAT. And then it got to the point where there was inequitability. Some places test centers were open, some places it was closed. So in order to offer a fair admission system, colleges started waiving the test results. And different colleges have different procedures for waivers. Some colleges offered a blanket waiver. Some colleges said if you have an advanced degree plus a good GPA, plus if you can demonstrate you've taken some other test, then you can, get a waiver. Some colleges still did not offer a waiver. So it was still a mix. and that practice continued last year. This year, it may not continue. At least most of the colleges which have published their applications so far have not talked about a waiver. But if some colleges offer a waiver, then that may be the better way for you, because you have a very good profile, especially if you've started a company and it was acquired for a good deal. I think that is the demonstration of a successful business person, right? Whatever people aspire to do after an MBA, you've done it before an MBA as well. So colleges don't need any further demonstration. But still, I think they will be somewhat picky about the GMAT. For an average person, I would say M7, you need 332, 333. For somebody with your background, given that you've done all this work, but still at least a 328, I think, will be required.
And what about the LORs in general? If we don't want to take it from the current organization, then how does that work? From where the LORs would have more impact?
That I think we need to have a more extended discussion on that. I need to understand your background, where you have worked, and what kind of people you are close to, and all that. Typically, for the people who work with me, I ask them to provide a list of around 8 people or so. People at least provide 5. Not everybody is able to provide 8. We cover people like current manager, previous manager, clients, manager's manager, colleagues who are slightly senior, but still at the same level. So let's say you have like an S3E2. Somebody else may be an S3E2, but that person may have like 10 years experience compared to your 5 years experience, right? So that person becomes a senior colleague who's at the same level in the company itself. So we assemble a list of people like this, and then we'll see who's easy to get a letter from, who will write well, plus who knows a lot about your profile, right? So some combination of analysis we have to do, and then we'll take it up from there. But typically for people in an entrepreneurial setting, it becomes a little difficult because you are the manager, right? So we'll have to do some discussion. Yeah, I'm sorry, you were saying something, Pallavi.
Do you take the profiles I am still preparing for GRE and it might take another 1 month, but I'm worried that writing essays, writing LORs, and maybe I need to manage something different by consultants' guidance. So do you take the profiles upfront without GRE score and that to targeting top ones? Do you take these profiles or you still ask people to do the GRE, take the GRE first?
Okay. See, I mean, we'll do that on a case-by-case basis. It is not something that is possible to be done on a universal basis for everybody. I'll tell you what the difficulty associated with that is.
Okay.
Let us say you start working with us with a certain GRE target in mind. Okay. In the past, what has happened is if people are able to achieve their targets, well and good. Okay. No problems. But when people are not able to achieve their targets, then suddenly they just disappear from the radar. Okay. I would have charged them, and suddenly I stop getting emails from them. I start getting updates from them. And then if I kind of bug them a lot, they say, Karthik, no, I'm preparing for the GRE and all that. So application gets postponed from R1 to R2. Sometimes it gets postponed indefinitely also. Okay. So that is the difficulty. It is not a difficulty from my side. It is a difficulty from the candidate side, and only in the event that they are not able to make the score. If they are able to make the score, then it goes without hiccup, right? So then of the people who are not able, of the people who are not able to make the score, some people get slightly less than the target, and then they are okay with adjusting the college list. They can, let's say instead of 332, you get like 325. And then I say, no, Pallavi, top 10 may not work, but let us target top 22. Okay, so from 11 to 22. If you're okay with that, then fine. I don't have a problem with that. But what happens is at 325 also, a lot of candidates are not able to, their heart is set in the top 7 to 10. They're not able to accept that top 11 to 12. Then also, they get lost. And so that is the scenario we have faced. But if you feel like that scenario will not happen in your case, then we can have a discussion for sure.
And for example, September, can I take more questions, like 1 or 2 more questions?
Let's say 1 question more, and then maybe we can cycle back through the others, and then we can come back to you at the end.
Okay. So if September intake, I want to apply for September intake, and again, can we apply to September? Should we apply to September or a January intake first from our case? And secondly, do you take this if I take in GRE in June or maybe July first week? So how, like, will it be possible to cover all of the things in 1.5 months, like if we go with you?
So our standard recommendation is that we'll need about 3 to 3.5 months for about 5 to 6 schools. For people who are under time pressure, we may be able to complete things in about 2.5 months. It is a lot of stress for you, and it's a lot of stress for me as well. But we have done it for people before, and if we are, we are in a current situation, we'll definitely consider it. No issues.
Okay. So in that case, should someone apply to, just last question, in that case, should someone apply to second January intake, or September should be the first preference?
Okay, I don't think you mean January intake or September intake. I think you mean September round or January round.
September round and January round.
Yeah, we'll finish as much as possible for the September round. And, I mean, sometimes it may not be humanly possible to finish more than 3-4 applications, depending on when we start. Then the balance application we'll do it for January round. So that should not be an issue. My recommendation is sometimes the 3 schools we apply, you will actually get it. Then you may consider applying to a higher rank program in round 2. Or if the 3 schools don't work out, then you may consider applying to lower rank programs, but not just 2, but maybe you'll apply to more.
Okay. Thanks.
Yeah.
Thanks so much.
Yeah, all the best, Pallavi.
Thank you.
So moving on, Naresh has a question. Hi, Naresh. Industry is in financial services, risk consulting, function is risk management, work experience. Let me see if I can make this bigger. Yeah, got it. 7 years and 9 months at matriculation, 3.5 years with US risk consulting, 3 years as a risk manager with India's first and only mortgage guarantee company focusing on affordable housing in India. Currently a VP with Barclays in risk management. Okay. Working in parallel on an underwriting automation tool that I wish to offer as an SAS product. Okay. Given my profile, which I've shared to you via email, request you to please let me know what are my realistic chances to get into US top 10 programs, particularly those programs focusing on finance. You may consider Wharton and Booth as stretch programs, Naresh, but I do think you'll have to cover like a top 12 to 15 max.
Because I would like to add just one thing, Karthik, that on surface, it might seem that my profile is, let's say, average or above average, but the journey from reaching from point A to point B has been tremendous, right? In the sense that I have improved a lot. You may say that a CG, so I'll take an example. At college, I actually shared with you as well that I have a chronic medical condition. Which is considered a disability in the, So those
you may not need to get into personal information on this call, Naresh, but I do remember what you have shared. So skip past the personal information and then share whatever beyond that.
So basically, what I'm trying to say is that again, I have just learned from those experiences. I've increased my CGPA at my college from first semester to the final, cumulative GPA by 40%. When it comes to work, I have, I mean, obviously, I've tried to, shoot beyond my means, and I have been, with the relative success, I would say. And in terms of the kind of projects that I've worked on, with relatively, let's say I've worked on projects with, on the kind of project that I've worked on at an experience level of 3-4 years, people don't generally get to work on those things. So I mean, what I'm trying to establish is that it might seem that it's an average profile, or but the differential has been the journey from point A to point B is something that I'm kind of trying to project in my essays and my applications.
Okay. So let's say top 12 to 15 as a worst case scenario, but definitely it is worth applying to a top 5, top 7 as well. See, I mean, I think what I'm saying is within 12 to 15, you will actually close. Within the top 7, you may have a good shot, but it is still very difficult, right? So I encourage you to apply to your Wharton and Booth, which are the good finance programs in the top 7. But
what about Columbia
don't be
early round?
Columbia also. Yes, yeah. Columbia early round, I think you can apply. Yeah, you can do that. Yeah. As long as you are ready to commit to Columbia, if you are offered that admission, that is only a catch with regards to the early round. I don't think that's a bad catch. I think Columbia is a great school. So I would encourage people to apply to Columbia in the early round because their chances are also better. And, it is a good school at the end of the day. So why not? But the only reason why you wouldn't want to do that is you really are passionate about something beyond Columbia, like a Wharton or a Booth, and you don't want to lock yourself, right? Yeah, Warren Buffett's mentor was a professor at CBS. In fact, I think this is Benjamin Graham.
Benjamin Graham, right? Intelligent Investor. Yeah.
Exactly. I tried reading that book. It was Benjamin Graham's pages. I think that was a little difficult for me to follow, but somebody else had given a very simple commentary on that book, right? I mean, I forget this person's name, but somebody had given subtext. So I think that's one of the best books on equity investing even now.
Certainly.
Yeah.
That and Memoirs of a Stock Trader. Like it was written in early 1920s by, I am forgetting the name, but it's
a stock operator or something, right?
Yes.
Yeah, I've not read that, but I've heard a lot of good reviews about it. Yeah. So definitely, I think you can try something in the top 7 to 10. For everybody, I would say it's difficult, not just for you, but for everybody, because all the best people in the world apply to these programs, right?
Yeah,
but they can apply, you can also apply, right? So let's leave it at that. But before 12 to 15, you should definitely be able to close. Should I have to consider among US top 11 to 20 programs, which school would be best admission with a scholarship given concentration is in finance and a post MBA? Great goal is to work. Yale is a good school. Keenan Flagler is a good school. Shortlisting, let's have a more extended discussion on that. I mean, we do charge for shortlisting, so I can't give like a lot of precise information there. Any data that I can refer to in order to check how many and what all finance companies offer sponsored positions to international candidates with respect to these schools? I'm not sure about what you mean by sponsored positions. Typically, the company will
H1B visa.
That it shouldn't matter which college you graduate from. If the company likes you, then they will do everything they can to get your visa. So that has nothing to do with where you study. Most top companies recruit from most top colleges. So that is also something that you can be happy about. In fact, within the top 15 to 20, I think there is a general push from the colleges side that they don't want to be identified as this kind of school or that kind of school. I'll tell you what. About 3 years ago, just before the pandemic, I was attending a conference. As a member of AGAG, I get to attend a conference every summer. The last 3 years, it has been online, 2021 and 22. But 18 and 19, it was actually in physical centers. So I visited Toronto, I visited Kellogg, I visited Booth, I visited Texas Austin, Rotman, lots of very nice campuses, Ross. In the conference, I was talking to this lady from Kellogg. She was the admissions director there at that point. And the thing was, people think Kellogg is about marketing. Please tell them that Kellogg is good for consulting as well. Kellogg is good for finance as well. We are actually trying to rebrand ourselves as somebody who's good for everything. This lady actually told this explicitly, but I think all universities are moving in the general same direction. You'll see that finance consulting is reasonably strong at Stanford. You will see that a lot of entrepreneurs graduate out of Wharton as well. So, historically, it is considered that Stanford and Berkeley are good for entrepreneurs. MIT is good for entrepreneurs. All these 3 schools are good for technology. Wharton and Booth for finance. But there is a general mix nowadays. Berkeley also is graduating consultants. So don't stress out too much about the specialization of the school itself. They are all very good at general management and they are all good at placing people in all colleges. But typically the good finance schools are in the top 7 to 10. You will have your Booth, Wharton, Columbia. And outside of that, you'll have your Yale, you'll have your Kenan Flagler.
Because I have heard
going all
that,
the way up to Simon.
Yeah, I'm really sorry to talk. So I've heard that usually people get placed in vicinity to the respective, geographical location where the colleges are located. So that's why I thought that, obviously West Coast, it is again, but East Coast, most of the finance companies are located there. So as close I am to East Coast, the better it would be. This is what I am thinking. Maybe I'm wrong.
Predominantly, a lot of finance companies are in the East Coast, closer to New York City. You are right as far as that goes. But you can find placements from other locations as well. And the placement, there's a high likelihood that it's going to be in the East Coast also, either Chicago or New York. So don't have to worry about that.
Gotcha.
Should I network with current students and alums of my target schools by connecting directly on LinkedIn, or should I try to reach out to them through email? I think LinkedIn will probably be a little bit better. Okay. You can reach out to them over email if you have received an introduction through a mutual friend, or if their email address is given on the website itself as a student ambassador, right? Other than that, probably email. How did you find their email in the first place? That looks like stalking. So I would probably go with LinkedIn.
Got it.
A friend asked me to start practicing speaking without using word fillers such as actually, etc., as it would take a lot of time to get used to speaking that way. What other advice would you give to prospective candidates for which they have to start way ahead in advance? Nothing really. Getting rid of word fillers is actually very difficult. I mean, now that you bring this up, I realize that I do a lot of these things also. A lot of good speakers do it too. Barack Obama was known to use some filler words. So, and he was considered to be a very good speaker in the US. But in general, I think for powerful speaking, it is a very good piece of advice, or whatever your friend has suggested. Joining Toastmasters will actually be a good way for you to start practicing your public speaking. And I know that in Toastmasters, they actually count the number of filler words and they make you feel bad at the end of the day. And you are filled with a lot of determination to do better the next time. So it works as positive reinforcement. With regards to other kinds of advice, just be prepared with your story. Where are you coming from in terms of your background? What are you good at? What are you not so good at? And where do you need to improve? Sometimes you may have a certain weakness, which is not necessary for you to improve upon in order for you to succeed in your target job, right? Maybe, numbers are not very, not a strong suit for you. But then if you're not working in finance, let's say if you're working in advertising, then the numbers it's okay. I mean, the numbers you deal with will be much simpler. Likewise, if you're not a very great researcher, maybe you will not find a job as a consultant, but you may be able to find a job as an operations manager, right? Which is a very in the now kind of job, right? So you don't have to tally all your weaknesses. You only have to tally weaknesses which will affect you in your target job. And then you may want to think about how the MBA will help you mitigate those weaknesses, or rather go past it and then develop strengths in areas which are currently weaknesses. So that life story, that is what you need to think about. And the more you start talking about your life story, the more rehearsed you will be when it actually comes to the time of the interviews. Yeah?
I think I have a few more questions, but I think it would be better if we get into a more involved discussion.
Definitely. Yes.
Thank you very much, Karthik.
Thank you, Naresh. Yeah. So moving on to Parul. Hi, Parul. I hope you're still here.
Yeah, I'm still
10.5 years.
Yeah. So let me just run you through from this. Yeah.
Absolutely,
So I've got a 10.5 years of work ex in financial technology. Having been in the leadership positions for some times now, and I have an extensive work in emerging markets. Now, what I want to ask you here is that what are the kind of schools that I should target with my work experience, which is slightly on the higher side? And what would be a better geography? Would it be USA or Europe? and knowing for a fact that I won't be scoring anywhere in the high numbers like 770 or whatever, I've become rustic there, I think. So what would be a decent GMAT score and yet get into colleges like NCR and HEC? Yeah.
Okay, let's say for NCR, right? You need international experience. So that's almost a must. Okay.
Yeah.
I don't remember whether you have strong international experience or not. I mean, I'll have to reference your email again.
Sure.
Experience is definitely okay. Not a problem.
Is it a deterrent into getting into the top schools? I don't know actually.
So when you're looking at US programs and Canadian programs, they tend, or rather they trend towards younger candidates. European programs are more comfortable with older candidates, and all this is relative, right? I mean, older does not mean like old. Compared to the average applicant, and within the US, I think outside of the top 5 to 7 colleges are actually comfortable with older candidates. So, so US, let's say ranked 7+, starting from let's say MIT or something, and Europe almost everything.
All right. Okay.
So that would be with regards to your age. That's your answer. You may want to consider exec programs also, if that is in your radar.
So when you say executive program, India, I'm sorry, for an executive program, you mean essentially a 1-year program, or what are you talking about?
Most exec programs are 1-year programs, yes.
Okay, yeah. Okay.
So you'll have your IIM, A, B, C, and you'll have your ISB, PGP Max. So these are some programs if you want to study in India, that is. Okay.
Yeah.
Outside of India, I think you may be younger for an Exec MBA. So that's you're in the middle path, right? You're older for a regular MBA, younger for an Exec MBA outside of India.
All right.
But that's okay. I mean, if you want to, you can target a regular MBA program and a decent GMAT score, let's say at least a 700 plus for top 20 to 22. Okay.
So I had a question. So doesn't the work experience or relevant work experience compensate for a decent GMAT, like a 700 GMAT score?
There's no definite answer to that.
Okay.
The point here is, I mean, first of all, they don't want the older candidate, right? They want somebody who's closer to their target population, which is, let's say, 5 years at matriculation.
I see.
So that's the first part. Now, it will help if the kind of experience you bring with you is relatively unique. Okay. What does that mean? Okay, you're in the fintech sector, sure. But even within the fintech sector, have you done something that a lot of other people haven't done, right?
Sure.
So if you can demonstrate that, then your value goes up. But if it looks like you have worked on problems very similar to what other people have worked on, and then they're closer to the target population, and then their GMATs are higher and all that, then you might lose out in that race. So I think at the end of the day, your competition is people who have similar backgrounds as you. You leave out the years of experience first. You just talk about what kind of problems you worked on, what kind of industry, what kind of sector. And then when you're ranking people within that bucket, maybe at that point you can add your GMAT and your WorkX as well. The years itself don't compensate for anything if somebody else has done similar problems in fewer years, right? And sometimes that happens. You're working in one company and then you're working on another company. And then the problems you work on in the second company are more interesting. Somebody else may have been a lot more fortunate in the problems they would have worked on in the first company itself, right? So they may have 5 years, you may have 10 years, but your second 5 years and their first 5 years are more or less the same, right? So in that case, again, the number of years will not help you. They won't hurt you, but they will not help you also. The number of years will help if you've managed to work your way up to a management role. Again, if you go too senior in management, then they may say, hey, you know what, this girl is already in senior management. She does not need an MBA. maybe an Exec MBA is a better role for her, and she can just wait another 2-3 years and do that, right? So you don't want to pitch yourself as someone who's like very good at management as well, but at the same time, when you are a senior candidate, you need to have demonstrated more leadership than a junior candidate. So that's the soft spot you're working with.
All right. Thank you, Karthik. That answers my questions. Thank you.
Absolutely, Parul. Happy to help. Moving on to Anubhav. Hi, Anubhav. Industry is in media and academics. Okay, great. In fact, I think I saw one of your pictures and you were wearing one of those satin colored suits, and you look like the host of a reality show or something like that. I'm not sure if it was a TV telecast. 1 year as an entrepreneur, 6 months for NFTC, 6 months as a journalist, 1 year as assistant professor, media and communication studies. I want to do policy consulting, MBA or MIM. I think you should not think about MIM because this is for junior candidates. Okay. So please don't consider those programs. So junior candidates, less than 2 years of experience. Okay. Should we do MBA from top 20 B schools, 1 year or 2 year programs? I don't think you have management experience. So if US, consider 2 year programs. If Europe, consider 1 year program, right? Europe or India also, ISB. Or age. In US, I don't remember. Should we do MBA from top 20 programs? Definitely. I mean, if you're able to break into the top 20, advisable. But maybe you'll need a GMAT of around 740 plus. Okay. That is what I would recommend. Policy consulting, ISB has a program. You may want to check into that. Public policy. That is very relevant to the Indian context. I think IIM A or B, they have a program. So you may want to check into that as well.
Okay, and I want to work for Walt Disney or Netflix, be part of their consulting and be part of their in their head office. How can I how do they achieve that?
Okay, that is different from policy. So you shouldn't mix your policy consulting with your media career. Okay.
Okay.
Given that you have background in media, maybe it is realistic for you to consider a career in media even after your degree, whatever your degree is. So whatever I'm suggesting here, these ISB programs and IMAB programs are policy programs, okay, not MBAs. Let me make that clear.
Okay, fine.
But for media, you need to figure out what the right program is for you. You need to consider whether you need an MBA or maybe an advanced master's in media studies is what you're looking for. So think about that. Think about what kind of people Disney and Netflix will recruit for the kind of positions that you are looking at. I know that Netflix, for example, recruits technical product managers. You know, they have great AI ML engineers, but these are like masters in computer science people. Yes. And of course, they also create a lot of content. So they're going to have directors, producers, you know, all these people on their staff as well. They may have buyers on their staff. So if you see yourself fitting into that producer, director, buyer kind of role, then an MBA may be useful as well, but maybe some higher studies in media may be the better fit for you.
No, I studied in Asia's premier media school at Satyajit Roy Film and Television Institute under Ministry of Information and Broadcasting in Kolkata. So now I want to branch out and look for some that creative is done. That part is I've gone through. Now I want to learn the management and I can where I can put together the creative and this management. I can put together and really do something. That's what I'm looking at. I'm preferring some European schools where I can already have the background in media. I've been in academic, I've been in film school, media school. Now I want to get into this business, get into this MBA program and really where I can put this creativity and management together. And this is what I'm looking at. I want to get into this area. like management
Then
role.
an MBA is a good program for you. Just do not confuse it with policy consulting. That is very, very different from higher further careers in media. So let's leave out policy consulting for right now. I had somebody in media last year. She got into Rotman and Oxford. Her GMAT was 710, so UCLA did not work out. Okay. But that was the other school that we really wanted her to target.
Okay.
So with a 740 or 750, I think UCLA may also work, and UCLA is probably the best school for you.
Okay. And what is the MBA program?
Yeah, I mean, if your creative aspects of a career in media are taken care of, and you just want the business aspects, then an MBA is the best fit for you.
Okay, and she did the MBA program, right? From media, and she got into media MBA program.
That is correct. Yeah, my candidate got into the MBA programs at Rotman and Oxford. Yeah.
Oh, okay. And like, what is she doing now? Like, she completed the course?
No, she just got in, so she's probably going to start college in 1 or 2 months.
Okay. Fine. Okay. Yeah. Thank you.
All right, Anubhav.
Thank you.
So moving on to Kumar Satyam. Kumar, are you still with us?
Hi, Karthik. Yes, I'm here.
Yeah, there's a lot of background noise. If I ask you a question, please, unmute yourself. But till then, maybe you can mute yourself. So Kumar is a freshman, has a specialization in data science and machine learning. Is that a bachelor's in data science and machine learning?
Actually, it's telecommunication engineering, but I have done courses in that, and I have a 6-month experience at Samsung Research Institute, working as an intern there as a research intern.
Okay, sounds good. Samsung R&D, right?
Yes, Samsung R&D.
Okay. So how many months of experience? 6 months.
6 months.
Okay. Have not taken the GRE yet. Okay. Want to go ahead for the MBA program. Very difficult proposition. You can apply to the early entry option at ISB.
Okay.
That should be okay.
Well,
you're done with college, right?
Yes, I am done with college. I graduated in October 2021, worked on the internship till January, and right now I'm looking for a position in data science.
Okay. See, deferred MBA programs are only for college students. Okay.
Okay.
So that is not possible for you. Otherwise, you need work experience. So my only suggestion is to get, Indian MBA options are possible.
Okay.
CAT based, right?
Yes.
But foreign MBA options, you will need that 3 to 5 years of work experience.
All right. What is the course of action that I should take to get foreign admit? Like say US.
So for US programs get about 3 to 5 years of work experience. Right. And let's say 700 plus on the GMAT. So I think that would be the minimum requirement.
Okay. Before moving forward, I'd like to inform you of my background. I have a gap year after 12th. I was trying to give the JEE, and the major is telecommunication engineering. So should I go for the job that has some management experience, or a technology thing would do, just like I'm looking right now for data science? So I would go ahead with that, but should I go for a management thing to get into an MBA program?
Yeah. See, my point of view is that of a typical middle class Indian. Okay. So my advice is the first step is to get a job, any job. Okay. I'm not talking about this from an MBA point of view. I'm just talking about it like a big brother sort of thing. Okay, please excuse me and please allow me that. The first step would be to get something. And the second step would be to get something desirable. And then you move on to something even more desirable. That's the basic idea. And then what counts as more desirable or less desirable, you can make your list of priorities, right? It could be salary, it could be location, it could be what kind of technology, it could be whether or not you have management experience. Keep a deadline for yourself. Let us say we are in mid-June right now. Keep a deadline for yourself. Let's say you need to find a job and start working by August end. Okay, not August beginning, but August end. So August 30 or 31. Okay, that means we have 2.5 months. Form your priority matrix. Start interviewing with companies, whether or not they are offering you leadership experience at this point. So typically it is not uncommon for people to have more than one offer. So people, if they do this job search very seriously for about 2.5 months, especially at the early stages, they may get about 4 to 5 offers. So you will also get 4 to 5 offers. Then within that 4 to 5 offers, if leadership is important to you, then you can pick the one which offers you the most leadership opportunity. Okay. So, and in case that does not happen, then take up whatever is the best of the 5. And then, spend 6 months in that job. And then after 6 months, you try to find something with leadership experience. This is my sincere advice. But if you had to do an MBA in like 5 years, definitely, yes, having a leadership experience will definitely help you with your MBA application. But move towards it very gradually. Don't be stuck, without a job for very long. You had an internship at Samsung R&D, and that's a very good brand to have on your resume. So I think a lot of technology companies will be happy to hire you. Yeah. So maybe even like a product management kind of role.
All right.
Any other questions? Yeah.
Nothing as such. Just I wanted to get a view of the timeline. You said at least 3 to 5 years of work experience, then start applying for the MBA programs, correct?
That is correct. Yes. Yeah. That would be the for US MBA programs. Indian MBA programs, I think 1 to 2 years of work, you can apply. Some you can apply even without that much experience, right? You can apply a fresher. So those are always open.
Okay, so does the GPA matter that much? But because I do have an average GPA, but I think I can manage a good GRE score. Good as in what is considered good.
Okay, for a US MBA program, if you are able to manage a good GRE or GMAT, then the GPA may not matter that much. But for IIMs, I think IIMs look at every single point on your resume, and they also consider your GPAs. So for an IIM kind of application, your GPA will be very important.
Okay, no further questions. Thank you so much.
Yeah, happy to help. So moving on, Aditya is there. Just give me some time. Hi, Aditya. Aditya is in tech consulting for 4 years, GMAT 710, functional testing. What are your questions, Aditya?
Yeah, Karthik. So earlier when I started with the entire MBA thing, I was targeting schools such as Ross and Tuck and Duke. But with a 710 and a tech consulting background, needless to say, that seems a bit tough. So now I've kind of, I'm still planning to give my GMAT again, and I'm in the process of that. But at the same time, I don't want to keep anything pending, and I want to start with my application process as well. But then, so with the 710, I was looking at schools such as USC Marshall or Texas McCombs, Keenan Flagler maybe. So would you think this would be competitive enough with this sort of a background? I have extracurriculars and other things as well. So I have been associated with an NGO for over 4 years now. And I have some other extracurriculars as well, which probably we could get into later. So would this be advisable? And at the same time, I'm also thinking, if I'm able to push my GMAT to, probably 740 or something north of 740, I can reorient myself towards, back to Duke or maybe Tuck or something else in that league.
Okay. So for the Duke Tuck, you'll need a 750. Marshall, maybe a 740 would be useful. McCombs, 710, 720, that's good profile. Keenan Flagler, like a 720 plus good profile. Be prepared for a top 30 program.
Right.
That is including your safeties.
Right.
With a
Also,
710.
I was also looking at a couple of schools in Canada and across Europe, something like McGill or EdTech or SR. So
what was the last one?
What I was the reason I SR, EdTech and SR.
Okay.
So the thing about these three schools was that, and the reason why I was so centric on the States is that I'm kind of skeptical about the post-graduation opportunities of markets in Europe, especially given the current geopolitical situation across Europe. And also, I think that the post-graduation job market in the state side would be much stronger, even if it is from something sort of a college, let's say, for example, Foster or Rice, than it would be in Canada. So is my assumption right, or am I missing out something here?
No, US definitely has the best job market for foreign nationals. So you're absolutely right. Europe is okay. Canada is okay. But the US definitely has better jobs. So there, I don't think you're making a mistake in assumption. But you can go ahead with both faith.
Okay. So Karthik, at this stage, besides my GMAT, is there anything else that I could do to improve my chances?
So what you can do is you can move from a functional role to a PM role, if that's possible. So that may help.
Then this would be something which would be helpful in the long term, right? Like if I have at least have a year-long PM role. Right.
But yeah, right now I think increasing your GMAT is probably the single most important thing for you.
Right.
Yeah.
Thanks.
Again, the alternative is to accept whatever colleges are in your range. That is also perfectly fine. I think most programs in the top 30, top 50 even are very good. I don't differentiate in the quality. I think all of them have, like most of these assistant professors would have graduated from the top 7 anyway, right? Regardless of where in the top 50 you study.
So at this stage, Karthik, with the 710, what would you have suggested that I should target?
So something in the 20 to 30 range, if you're looking at US programs. Your McGill may be a stretch, but worth applying. Your EdTech and SADE will work out. But you're right, you should check out the job markets post EdTech or post SADE. McGill, I don't think you need to worry too much about the job market. Canada, I think you will still be able to find something or the other. So that should not be an issue. But EdTech and SADE, I would ask you to do your research on job markets.
Right, sure.
But chances of admission are good. Yeah. Moving on, Abhishek is there. Is Abhishek with us? Abhishek Kaushik, yeah. Industries in FinTech, function is growth and community engagement. That sounds interesting. I have done 2 switches in 3 years. Is that bad? What exactly are these switches about, Abhishek?
Yeah, hi Karthik. So initially, when I graduated in 2019, I started working in EdTech. I started working in Byju's because I wanted. So my eventual goal is to do a startup someday. But it is not like I just want to rush it into things.
What were you doing at Byju's?
Sorry?
What were you doing at Byju's?
I started as a business development associate. I got promoted to a manager role in 13 months. And after 3 months of being a manager, I just left the company.
Okay, so it's a business development kind of profile, right?
Yeah.
Okay, all right.
So after that,
currently you're in FinTech.
What are you doing here? For D2C brands. So they, yeah. Hello.
Yeah, I lost you for a little bit. What are you doing in FinTech right now?
At present, I'm working with Paytm. I joined like 2 months back. I am a growth manager, and I also look at community engagement as well. as a job role.
Okay.
Yeah.
So is it also like a business development role?
No, it is not. It is a post MBA role that generally people from IIMs get here. So I have colleagues who work in similar roles from IIFTs and these new IIMs and all. So it is like I am working in a cross-functional team. I am the one responsible for acquisition of merchants. So the business proposition is on me. So for example, we want to reach 50,000 active merchants by the end of the year. So marketing would be pushing in for leads. Then there is an operations team which would these leads into active merchants. And then there is a team which is for the churned merchants. There's a call center. These guys call them up with offers and they try to get them back. So overall, the responsibility, every team does the work, and eventually it is like, I have done my work, I don't know. So overall responsibility lies on me. I have to make sure I have to poke everyone and I have to strategize everything that how the loopholes which are there in the system presently can be overcome. So it is not into Paytm, it is B2B sector. It is Paytm for payments, which is a new kind of a startup that is originating from Paytm as a parent company.
Okay, very good. And how many years at Byju's? 3 years or 2 years and 9 months or something?
No, in Byju's I was there for 18 months. Then I went to a startup called LimeChat.
Okay.
So it was a conversational commerce company. We used to make chatbots and dashboards for D2C brands. Right. So like I had a couple of friends from 15 months there.
15 months at a startup.
Yeah. So that was like a startup which started from zero. We scaled it. I scaled it like I was the first person to join in the BD team because they had no one. So I was working with the founders directly. They were my friends from IIT Delhi. So yeah. So we scaled it from zero to 1 million ARR revenue, and we even raised a Series A funding of $4.1 million. And then I had some fallout with the founders, and I left too.
Okay, all right. See, I mean, the switches are not exactly going to be positive. Okay.
Yeah.
Because
so like the reason for which is
some changes here.
Yeah. So I've not just been switching industries. I've been switching roles as well, because I told you eventually I want to do a startup someday. So it is like I don't know what I want to do in my life presently, and that is why I'm just exploring at the moment. And that is why an MBA is something I'm looking at, because that can not just give me a right direction of where I should be heading, but also it can help me in a business world, because obviously that is a very credible degree when it comes to doing a startup as well. Right.
Yeah.
So that is the reason.
No, I think at this point it may be a bottleneck, but worth applying. Okay, but you can apply and be prepared for a reapplication next year. Okay. You can try this year.
Okay, so like this is something I want to ask as well. So I've never given GMAT or GRE. I've given CAT this year. I scored 98 percentile in it.
Right. Very good.
So, but the only problem was my VARC section is what I realized was the weakest one, because I've never read books in my life. I have been a sportsman all my life. I've played North Zone in Kabaddi as well.
Okay.
So reading is something which doesn't come to me naturally. I've not even read a newspaper in my entire life. And I've realized that GMAT, VARC is something which is very, very difficult as well. So this is a question that I have in my head, that should I prepare for GMAT initially? First of all, whether I should go for a GMAT or a GRE, and whether should I prepare for the exam and get a great score and then look for applications, or I should do it parallelly, because as I've been hearing this whole conversation for last 1 hour or so, I've realized that applications start in September, and obviously the ones who apply in the first round would be getting some better results as well. So these are the questions I would like you to address.
Typically, if you get a 98% on the CAT, I think you should be able to get a 740 on the GMAT or 330 on the GRE. That shouldn't be very difficult, with some preparation, of course. See, it all depends on how much time you have. So let's say we have like so many hours every week, and we are expected to, work like 40 to 50 to 60 hours a week by our companies. So how much time do you have for applications, right? Let's say you have 10 hours or maybe 20 hours, then you can do both at the same time, GMAT and the application process. But if you have only 5 to 10 hours, then obviously you'll spread yourself too thin if you do both at the same time. In such a scenario, I would ask you to focus on the GMAT or GRE first, and then start applications. That may push you to round 2. If you still get your GMAT done by, let's say, mid-July, you may be able to put in 1 or 2 applications in round 1 for a very targeted set of schools. And then the remaining applications, you can do it in round 2. Okay. So time is one data point that you need to evaluate. How much time do you have? Then this concept of working parallelly on applications, right? I think I answered this question for somebody earlier. Whether you do it by yourself or not, that is entirely your decision, right? I mean, I would encourage you to work on both parallelly. But when we sign up to work with somebody, then we need to have some discussion on how realistic the targets are, and are you the kind of person who's flexible if the target is not achieved? So based on the answers to those questions only, we can commit to working with you. If you are very passionate about a certain set of schools, but you're not very clear about your GMAT, I'm still okay with working with you, but then I would prefer that you finish your GMAT and come back. But
no, actually, in my case, GMAT is not a problem. I am more concerned towards I am very specific to the schools that I'll like to get into. But GMAT is not what I'll be concerned about. So
even I don't think I'll be very concerned about GMAT in your case. With a 98 percentile on the CAT, I do think a 740 on the GMAT or a 330 on the GRE can be done. Okay. So reach out and then we can discuss. So for everybody who's still on the call, I mean, we've been doing these one-to-many kind of hangouts every other Monday. For a one-on-one call, we have a very small charge, and we subtract that charge when people sign up with us. So if you are interested, please send me a note, and then I can send you a lot of details about our packages, how do we work with regards to counseling, what do we charge, and what do we charge for initial one-to-one call. I mean, I can give you like the entire life story. And then
sure, I'll do that.
Yeah.
And just another question. So I told you, because my eventual goal is to do a startup, and that too in India for sure, because that is the market that I'm most attracted to. So do you think an MBA abroad and then coming back to India would be a good idea, or I should target schools here in India itself?
I mean, if you want that international branding, then definitely getting an international MBA is helpful. But from a practical point of view, if you study in India, you'll get an Indian network and you don't have to spend that much. So just think about it. At the end of the day, if you're able to get into an M7, I will say always an M7 over something in India. But outside of the M7, those schools are also good. These schools are also good. And you can be very practical about your choices.
So would it be a good idea to apply to M7 and then ISB parallelly? The best in India, and maybe give CAT again?
See, a lot of people that I work with also apply to ISB and also look at top 15 to top 20 programs. So I'm giving you all this suggestion because you're telling me that you want a career in India. The people who do top 20 applications plus ISB may still end up going to the US if they get something like a Marshall over an ISB. Okay. But then there are people who want a career in the US. All right. So there it makes sense for them to do a top 20 MBA over an ISB. But for somebody who wants a career in India, only these choices start coming. M7 plus ISB, I mean, I'm the kind of person who, if I work with you, I would want you to get into some place, right? So even though objectively that strategy of either make it to M7 or if that doesn't happen, you'll always get into ISB, that seems sound. I may ask you to consider applying to colleges outside of M7 as well. We can have a discussion on that as and when we start working together. That is the only motivation behind that discussion is, okay, US also you need to have an option, right? But that all depends on the GMAT score.
So I'll start working for the GMAT first. I'll try to wrap it up by the end of this month itself. So I just have a final question. It'll take 1 minute of yours. So my bachelor's is also very unique. So, and this is what concerns me as well. So I've done my BTech in food technology and management from this place called NIFT, which is like the central body for food technology in the country. Right. So, but I realized in second year that I was not interested in food technology, and also it had a blend of management. So there were two subjects which are taught in MBA generally in every semester, and I wanted to move into the management aspect of it. So from there I went to Byju's, then I went to SAS, then I'm working in FinTech now. Like you told me, this might be a negative point as well. So considering all this and with a 3-year work what do you think are my chances of getting into maybe top 15 or 20 schools in the US or maybe in the UK?
So that will be a bottleneck this year. But sometimes people in your situation are able to get in also. So I'm not able to universally dismiss your application. Some people with a scattered work history have made it to some very good colleges. It all depends on the competition this year. If the competition is intense, then maybe you will have to take a backseat, and you may not have a good season, and you may have to apply again next year. But if the competition is not that intense, then they are also looking for good candidates, and definitely from an academic point of view, you will appear as a good candidate. And wherever you have worked, if you have done good work, they may consider that over the fact that you've been shifting so much. So
like wherever I've worked, I've got growth, and then I've shifted. That is also a scenario.
Yeah, so that would be valued. So I think it all depends on how competitive this year will shape up. If it's a competitive year, then you may have to take a backseat. So that is something that I will tell you. Yeah. Sure. Another thing I can tell you is with regards to US candidates, the competition is going down. With regards to Indian candidates, the competition is going up. So that has been the trend till last year.
Yeah, I heard that initially when you mentioned. Yeah. So any safe score that could help me, especially from GMAT or GRE?
For somebody with this 98 percentile on the CAT, I expect them to get 740 or 750 on the GMAT. So if you're doing less than that, then you're not living up to your potential. That's what I would tell you. So,
so if I score 750 or above, so that would be a safe score?
It is a little different from the CAT. That does not mean you will automatically get into a top 7, top 10 program. But without that 750, you cannot even apply to that program. So that's the way it is. But with the 750, I think a top 20 will definitely work out.
Karthik, really sorry to interrupt you guys. I actually heard that Abhishek told us that he hasn't read a book. So I just want to mention that on GMAT, the kind of passages even for RC that we get, those are not fictional stories. So if you go through any passage, you would say that you would find that it's a more of a technical description, or it's a excerpt from some let's say there are 3-4 common themes, so you don't need to worry about it. Like I would recommend that you read a few GMAT RC passages. You would find that those are not heavily dependent on your
thank you. Actually, I wanted to ask this question that time also. I raised my hand, but probably that got missed. So when you were telling about the strategy for scoring a 717 GMAT, so you told a strategy for VA especially that you should just skim through the topic, and then you obviously
not skim through the I didn't say that you skim through the details. You you understand the crux of the passage, why it's been written, right? And it has nothing to do with like let's say if you read I don't know if you fantasy novels and all, that has nothing to do with, like less to do with that. Obviously if you do that,
it was just to mention that I don't have a habit of reading, just to highlight that point, because
I didn't I don't read fiction. I read non-fiction, but obviously I've found that has less to do with the GMAT RC.
Yeah, thank you. So for this, I just wanted to tell you this, that in CAT, because obviously I told you I figured out that VARC was what I was struggling into, and 24 questions came for
Abhishek, let's connect offline. Let's not consume time. Let's give me a LinkedIn request. We'll connect separately. Sorry, Karthik. Sorry.
Sure, that's okay. I think any advice is good advice. Abhishek, can I move on?
Yeah, sure.
All right.
And just Karthik, yes, this is for you. Just a second more. Could you share those details where we can reach out to you? You said you'll share them.
Yes, I will. Yeah, definitely. Let me just take Ayushi's question, and I think Balagangadhar had a question also. So 2 more questions, and then maybe we can have a 5-minute discussion. I understand that we are a little over time, but request people to hold on for another 10 minutes or so. Ayushi is still with us?
Yeah, hi Karthik, good evening.
Hi Ayushi. Technology consultant, 4.5 years of experience, 2 promotions, worked with NGOs, 680 on the GMAT, targeting for 25 in US and Europe. I think it is doable. What was your question? Tell me.
Yeah, actually, Karthik, I am targeting US schools most probably because I'll be taking most probably loans or scholarship. So I want to repay those loans. I want job so that I'll be able to repay those loans, and I'm planning to come back to India like after 3 to 4 years of work ex.
Okay.
At least. So I wanted to like cover up my loan within those 3 to 4 years and then come back. So I wanted to ask, like, what are my chances with 680 GMAT score in US first? Like, my first priority is US, then Europe and Canada, because as I just suggested that the market is not so good in US and Canada. So I wanted to target US schools first.
So you'll get a admit from a college rank between 21 and 30. You may get a small scholarship as well, possibility.
Yeah. Some of my schools that I wanted to target are like, I would just ask you if those are better enough. They are Emory, Keenan Flagger, Tepper.
Okay.
And sorry, 1 second. Just a second. Yeah, Tepper, UCLA, USC Marshall, Johnson.
Just a minute, Johnson.
Yeah, Johnson. And yeah, Kelly. Ask about these schools.
So these may be very difficult.
Okay.
So I would say 730 plus. These you can apply. Okay. And have something 22 to 30 rank also.
Okay. So
would be for your target plus safe.
22 to 30 US or 22 to 30 world ranking?
US.
US. Okay. So are there good chances to get job good enough to repay the loans?
Yes.
In those schools?
Yes. Yeah. You'll get a scholarship. So I think going in itself, you won't have to pay 100% of whatever they ask you to pay. Maybe like, I can't say you'll get a 20% or 30%. It all depends on their how your application is evaluated. But maybe like a 20% scholarship or something. And I think a good number of people are actually able to repay within 3 to 4 years. So typically what happens is, even when you start the job, the company makes you a sign-on bonus. Okay. The sign-on bonus is usually sufficient to extinguish about 30-35% of the loan, like day one, right? The only requirement is they will require you to work for that same company for another 2 years or something. There'll be some, not like a bond as it is in India, but some sort of agreement is still there. And if you leave the company before that, then you may have to repay some part of the sign-on bonus. So that part you'll have to evaluate. But anyway, 35% gone first day, 20% gone like scholarship. So, already like you start your job and 55% of your education expenses have been taken care of. So another 45% is there. Somebody who has lived in India all their life and who has just moved to the US will probably be a lot more frugal than somebody who has grown up in the US. Okay, so even if your salary is the same as somebody from America, your savings rate may be higher, which means there's a good chance you'll pay off your loan quite fast.
Yeah, so one more question. Actually 2 questions. One is, I have AWA score of 3. So should I target to give GMAT again, or is it fine with?
I think if you can get your GMAT again and not just improve your AWA, but also your actual score, it'll be helpful.
Yeah, actually, I'm planning to give in next month, but I just wanted to know if I'm good enough with this score actually, because I'm targeting for applications this year actually. So,
you can start applying to these programs, but definitely, try to improve your GMAT, try to improve your AWA as well. That would be very, very helpful.
Okay, and one more question, Karthik. As you mentioned that we are able to generally repay our loans, but I wanted to ask one question. Like in top 25, it's good enough to get the jobs, right? We'll get the job offers in those 25 or 30.
Yes, yeah, definitely, yes, yeah. Top 30, top 50 also. See, I mean, the nature of jobs will change as you move from a top 10 to a top 20 to a top 30 to a top 50. Even if you're working for the same company. The best example I can give you is McKinsey recruiting in India. Okay. Typically, McKinsey does recruit undergraduate pass outs. But when somebody is recruited from an IIT, old IIT, like an IIT Madras or an IIT Delhi, Bombay, Kanpur, whatever, they are taken in as consultants. So their role might be called analyst or something, but still they are consultants. Okay. When somebody is taken from a newer IIT or an older NIT, right? Typically what happens is they are taken in and they are asked to work on data problems. So they have these analytic centers of competence. And this is true for McKinsey, Boston, and Bain. Okay. And then when somebody is taken from, let's say we have these arts and science colleges where people go to study bachelor's in management or BCom or something like that, right? So in Chennai, you have your Loyola or Stella, or in Bangalore, you have your Christ, you have your St. Stephen's and whatnot. So somebody who graduates out of these colleges is also recruited into MBB, but they are asked to do research work, like a consultant wants them to give an update on the status of the auto industry in Mexico. Okay, so now they have to do a lot of Google searching, understand like who are the competitors, who are the players. And they'll have to do that background work, and then they'll have to give them like a research report, right? Like that, every company hires from every place, but the kind of roles that you are hired for may be a little different, and the corresponding salaries may be a little different also. So that is something you need to keep in mind. But regardless, most people who graduate from a top 30 B school are hired at least 140, 150 plus per year. So most schools seem to be doing that well, at least. And as long as you're able to get into a top 30, I think you will also be able to get a job that pays at least that much.
Thank you so much, Karthik. That's all.
Yeah. Happy to help. Is Balagangadhar there? Yeah, I see Balagangadhar there.
Yeah.
So banking industry, 14 years of experience, you have to take the GMAT. What is your question, Balagangadhar?
Yeah, I just wanted to know whether it is a correct. I'm actually heading in branch manager. As a branch manager, I've been working since past 8 years.
Okay.
My goal is to go further up in the ladder. Like I want to go into good roles, but I work in public sector.
Okay.
So I just wanted to shift into a private this thing wherein I'll get good good roles going further in finance shops only.
Okay.
So in this case, whether doing an MBA will have an advantage to me, and in what way I should target, which schools I should target, and what should be my target GMAT score.
Okay. You want to move to the private sector as in India or worldwide?
Yeah, worldwide, sir.
Worldwide, okay. Yeah, I think the GMAT is a very huge component of the determination here. So my recommendation is finish up the GMAT, but 14 years is on the higher side. So you may be a better candidate for Exec MBA. But if you're looking at a job switch, then a regular MBA is fine. So it's a very, I think you are looking for a job switch, right?
Yeah.
Job switch meaning not just that you want to work for a different company, but you want to work in a different industry or something. Yeah.
Not a different industry, but this finance sector will, I want to stick to that, this thing. Again, industry change will need a lot of changes to be done. So this all 14 years of experience will go in vain.
Okay.
Yeah. So not an industry shift, but this want to move out of this from the public sector to this thing.
Okay. Bala, I think we'll have to analyze your profile in a little bit more detail.
Okay.
I'm not able to make a very light-hearted comment just like that. Okay.
Okay.
But if you have strong experience in finance, and let's say if you've done your CFA or something and you want to move to the investment banking side, okay, then definitely an MBA will be helpful. And even though you are on the older side, a regular MBA may be the better fit for you compared to an Exec MBA. Okay. But if you want to get back to retail banking itself and you want to get into a senior management role, the first question I have is, I don't know if an MBA is required, in the traditional Indian banking sector, right? I think it's just a question of seniority. You become DGM, regional manager, whatnot, and all that. But let us say you want to move into retail banking in the private sector in India or abroad, then an Exec MBA may be the better choice for you. Okay. So what I'm saying is, you're in retail banking, you want to grow up in retail banking, Exec MBA may be the better choice. But if you want to move to like an investment bank or a PEVC role, then a regular MBA may still be okay. Either way, we can make a determination only after the GMAT is in place with regards to what kind of schools will work out for you. Typically, the targets I give people are people who are looking at a top 10 to 12 US or worldwide. 750 plus is useful. People, Indian male applicants, especially looking at a top 20, top 22, 740 plus. And people outside of that, let's say looking at a top 30, top 35 program, maybe a 700, 710 plus. So typically that's the range I would recommend people get. And, if you are able to make that, then definitely I think we can consider that for you as well.
Yeah. Okay. But if you want me to stay in, if I think to stay in India, then based on that seniority, better to do this FRM or CFA. That would be a better idea rather than considering and doing an MBA.
An Exec MBA may be useful. You may consider an Executive MBA in IIMs or something, and they may have specialized programs for banking managers as well.
Okay.
So IIMs may have special programs. So just check all theirs.
So Executive MBA, whether that means it's a full-time MBA or part-time will do?
In IIMs, it is full-time.
Okay.
Specialized certificate programs could be part-time.
Okay.
So just check IIM A and B.
Okay, fine.
And certificate programs, you don't need the GMAT also.
Okay, fine.
For banking leaders. Okay. Yeah. All right. Let me just answer a question somebody had about how we can take this forward.
Okay.
So we have these Zoom sessions every Monday for most applicants to attend and benefit by asking their questions. We are also happy to sign up people and start working with them for R1 and R2 applications. Now, typically the process we follow is we would like to have a one-to-one call with you before we start working together. This is just to judge the chemistry, right? Now, most people compare consulting firms like they compare mobile phones or TVs, that firm has more RAM or this firm has like a super AMOLED display, but even for mobile phones, all that doesn't make sense. At the end of the day, people buy the Apple iPhone not for, it's RAM, or I don't even know how much RAM an Apple iPhone has. They don't advertise it, right? It's a product, right? So are you an Apple guy? Are you a Samsung guy? Are you a Vivo? Are you an Oppo? Whatever. At the end of the day, it becomes a product, and you identify with the ethos of that product, right? Likewise, I think it is very important for a mentor and a mentee to have a chemistry session to understand if they have that right chemistry. Okay. In terms of results, our results are as good as the best firms in India and abroad. In terms of process, I think we follow a very rigorous process. Other firms may also have a rigorous process. I'm not saying ours is better than them or theirs is better than us. We have a certain process that works, but it's not just the process. It's also this entire chemistry around the process. Right? So we'll start with the one-to-one call. I'll probably have a slightly more detailed discussion with you in the one-to-one call. And then we'll also have a short discussion on how we can work together. Typically, we would like to start working with somebody after they are done with the GRE or GMAT. And the reason was explained at the beginning of our call today. Because, if you're not able to hit the target, then the engagement goes into like some cloud9 kind of level. Okay. So in order to have some clarity on milestones, it is much easier for us to start working with somebody after their GRE or GMAT is considered done. But there are always special circumstances. In certain areas, we are able to have a very good prediction of the GMAT score. Somebody said they had a CAT percentile of 98. I have a very good prediction of that person's GMAT score. It's going to be very rare for that person to have a lower score than what I predict. But when there's no such predictor possible, then we'll just have to go on faith. Now, when somebody's going on faith, then I would, start working or not, depending on their unique circumstances. We can have a discussion. Okay. Then when somebody starts working with us, we subtract this charge for the one-to-one call with them. So that is definitely taken care of. How do we work with the candidate, right? So when somebody starts working with us, the first step is for me to understand your background. So I will ask a certain set of questions and I will ask you to respond to those. So this is usually done in written format. And after that, the next step is for me to prepare a shortlist. I've given people some ranges of schools that they can target, right, based on your profile. We will have something a little bit more precise at this point because I would have a lot more information about your background. And the range that I propose based on GMAT, it may go up or down, depending on whether your profile appears to me to be stronger than the average applicant or slightly weaker than the average applicant. So I've had people with very high GMAT scores, and I've actually suggested to them, let's not try top 15, let's try outside of top 15. And I've had people with a 710, 720, and then we also said, let's try top 15 for you. So case in point was this media girl with a 710 who got into Rotman in Oxford. Typically, over the last 2 to 3 years, it's been very difficult for an Indian applicant to crack either of these schools without a 740. Okay. I just had somebody get into TEPA with a 730. Again, typically not possible without a 750. Then again, it's not universally the case. There are some situations where people with the 750 have been advised to apply to programs outside of top 10 as well. So, it's all there in the mix. So that is the shortlisting process. Now, at this point, consultants operate in, I think, 3 different levels. There's one kind of consultant which does not even make a shortlist, says, tell me what schools you want to apply to and I'll just help you with that. There's the other kind of consultant who says, hey, you know what, these are the 5 schools that we should work on. And, I'm not willing to work on anything outside of these stuff. I prefer to follow the middle path, the third approach, where I will make a proposal. I will tell you how easy or difficult colleges are going to be, but you choose which colleges you want to apply to, right? Because if you're not interested in applying to a certain college, there's no point in even working on it, right? I do have some liability in the process. If we work together for 5 schools and you don't get into any 5, it does reflect badly on me. So, if all the 5 schools we apply to have been pitched as difficult, if I think they're difficult, let you know they are difficult. And I just want you to be clear that negative results will be a possibility in that particular scenario. And, my advice has been given to you and you have decided, you have considered that advice and you decided to apply to difficult programs. Okay. So as long as we have that understanding, I'm happy to help you. And once we start working on colleges, it doesn't matter to me. I forget what kind of recommendations I've made. We just, put in our best efforts. So that's how that works. Now we have comprehensive packages where there's a limit of 1 brainstorming call per college. And then we have ultra packages where we don't have that limit. Only 1 call per week. So we have a separation of 7 days between 2 calls in the ultra package, right? Either way, calls are set up between 1 and 6, and there's a lead time of 2 to 3 days. And my turnaround time is also 2 to 3 days. I'm very good at keeping to that turnaround time. Closer to the deadlines, it will become a little bit more difficult because of a bottleneck traffic jam kind of effort. A lot of people start coming in with edits at that point in time. But for all those early birds who like to finish things in August itself, you will not face any difficulty. It'll be a very seamless process. Okay. What we do in the brainstorming call, we'll usually set it up for an hour, and then we'll discuss all your life stories. We'll look at the questions that the colleges ask. So Yale has that commitment essay, or Duke has a 25 things essay. Anderson had that adversity. I think Pepper had that adversity essay. Anderson had like, what did you learn over the last 2 years kind of essay, right? So we'll discuss your life story. We'll see which one is the best fit for that. And based on that, I'll help you put together a structure, and then you'll prepare a draft, share it with me, and then I'll give you my comments in about 2-3 days, and then you can prepare more drafts and send it to me. We do not limit the number of essay reviews. We'll take whatever number of reviews it takes to get it right. And similarly, we'll help you with the resume and the letters of recommendation also. In our 3-school comprehensive, we don't have interview prep by default. It is separately chargeable. In our 5-school comprehensive, we have 2 mock interviews, and in our ultra, we have mock interviews. It's a 5-school package by default. We do have mock interviews. We don't have any limits on the number as well. Okay, subject to it once in 7 days kind of thing. So this is everything that is there about our programs. I can send you a pricing sheet, but broadly, we charge 195 plus GST for the 3-school comp, 250 plus GST for the 5-school comprehensive, and 340 plus GST for the 5-school ultra. Okay, so I'll send you a spreadsheet. You don't have to note it down right now, but just send me a reminder so that I know that I have to send this to you. And yeah, I mean, I would encourage you to sign up for a one-to-one call. Send me an email, and then we can have a discussion. And then there's no compulsion that you have to sign up. But when you sign up, we'll subtract that 2K, and then happy to have you on board with us. Definitely, we are looking to have a good pool of candidates to work with this year as well. Any other questions I can answer for people? Okay, I'm going to take that as.
I have a question. How many candidates do you work, with at a particular, let's say, round?
So it varies. But I would say about 15 to 20 candidates per round. Any other questions? Yeah, it all depends. Okay, some people sign up for like one school, and then before you know it, they're out of our system. But we count them as one of our candidates as well. So even if somebody has worked with us in July, if you are starting to work with us in August, you wouldn't even notice that that person had worked with us because that person is already out of our system. So there's all sorts of permutations and combinations happen. It's a floating population where people keep coming in and people keep leaving at different points in time. So what I can say is our optimization goal is we won't take candidates if we believe that we have a lot of people at a particular point in time and our timelines are slipping beyond 2 to 3 days. Okay. During deadlines, it definitely will slip beyond 2 to 3 days. That is not because of the number of candidates we are working with, but that is because, like, even if you're working with few candidates, everybody wants to come at the last minute. That's a different effect altogether. But under normal circumstances, if we feel that we are overloaded, then we will stop taking any people. So it will be a temporary thing. And then the 1-school, 3-school candidates will finish their work, and then we'll start taking in more people. So it's a very cyclical thing.
Another question. I'm really sorry. So is it advisable to get the, either the resume or the essays edited through your own network? So I have a couple of friends who have gone to a couple of good schools like Ross, MIT, and so on. Obviously, we'll be working with you. You are the expert. But since they are also, they've also gone through the same process. If any insight, obviously, as many set of eyes can.
Yeah, I mean, that is entirely up to you. I don't have any advice for or against that practice. Sometimes it does make our task a little bit more difficult. That much I will tell you. But see, I mean, at the end of the day, I want you to feel comfortable with what you're submitting. Okay. Why does it make things difficult? I mean, the more people who have opportunity to comment on things, the more comments are made. And we would have had a certain idea behind why we have chosen to do things a certain way. And then when somebody questions that, then, some confusion, some doubt, all of that creeps in. And the level of confidence may go down. Sometimes the opposite happens also. So this is the difficulty that me and, in fact, most consultants would have. But I mean, that's something that we know how to handle. You should do whatever you feel confident about. At the end of the day, that is the most important thing. So if a good friend is studying at like Harvard or Wharton and you trust their advice, then by all means, take their advice also. All right.
Karthik,
does anybody have
one last question. So for non-GRE takers, like you mentioned, that if we don't have a problem and we are like able to like get down to the other batch of colleges in case we get a low GRE score, and then you are okay with going ahead with the services. So how does that work like now? How do we reach out to you for that?
So write me an email. If you are, most probably you would be signed up to my system. But yeah, let me just put down my email address here, and then let's see. Wait. Yeah.
So you're doing the packages and everything, services, right?
Yeah, I'll send you everything. Just ask a question, because whatever question you have on email, I will answer it for you.
Okay.
So if you want the list of packages, please put that as an additional question, and then I'll definitely answer it for you. So it's Karthik at augustacademy.in.
Yeah, I sent an email. So
okay, yeah. So just mention whatever questions. If you want the packages, please send me that you want the packages. I will send it to you.
Okay, thank you.
Yeah. All right. Any other questions anybody has?
Just that link, I couldn't find any payment link for the to initial, for that initial call setup. Request you to please share that.
Just send me an email. I will send you the link, or I will send you the bank details. So we have like an InstaMojo link. There's a slight charge around that. If you want to avoid that charge, I can give you my bank details also, and then you can just pay that to K, and we'll account for it. No issues. I'll send you all the details.
Thank you, sir.
Yeah. One final request. This video is also on YouTube. If you guys can give a like, then what will happen is people outside of our network will also notice this, and then more people will reach out to us. And we are a small business, and definitely the more people that reach out to us, the better it is for us. So please like, share, and subscribe this video. And for people who watch it at a later point in time, we are going to be splitting this up into chapters. So you don't have to watch the entire video. For everybody, there will be a certain question that is relevant to them, right? Today, for example, we've discussed questions for older candidates, for college freshers, people who've taken the GMAT, people who've not taken the GMAT, people from FinTech, people from EdTech, different industries, in fact, people from banking. So what we'll do is we will put the question and then you can just click on that timestamp and you will be taken to that particular moment of the video. So you don't have to watch the entire 2 hours of video. For everybody who's watching this, maybe about 10 minutes of conversation is relevant to them. So just sample the list of questions and just click on whatever is most relevant to you, watch that, and then you will benefit from it. For the rest of the audience, please do like it, and that actually helps YouTube algorithms demonstrate that video to other people as well, and that way we become a little bit more better now. Yeah. Thank you all. I will close the call right now, and then please feel free to send me an email, and then we can take up the conversation from there. Thank you.
Thank you.
Bye.